I don't know about you, but I've really been struck by the images and the news that I've seen and heard coming out of the southeastern part of the United States and Florida and Georgia and south of North Carolina, even up into Virginia, and some of these just incredible images and of houses being washed away and mudslides and flooding and all because of this Hurricane Helene that has made landfall here in the United States. I remember back in, I think it was 2005 when Katrina hit, some of the incredible images and news that came out of that, and the damage that was done. And it's really kind of forced me to stop and think about a couple of things. One is the first and most obvious is how little control we really have. There are a lot of things in this life that can remind us in pretty sudden and painful ways that we don't have as much control as we wish we did. Our health, our family relationships, our work, the loss of income or loss of job, addictions, all of these kinds of things, boy, they can sure point out real quickly that we don't have as much control as we think we do or as we wish we did. And that can drive us into the arms of God, or it can drive us away from God, I suppose. Either option is possible. But there's a second thing that really stands out to me in this, and that is that my response to such things really is something that I can control. Does the suffering that I see drive me into the arms of God, or does it force me to start to question in ways that drive me away from the presence of God? But that's only really one response that we have control over. The other, I realize, is my own compassionate response. That response doesn't happen automatically. We're not moved to give and to serve and to pray and to help without an active decision. At some point, we have to decide that we are going to do something. We live in a world where it's so easy for people to pretend like they're doing something when really they're not. And I don't want to be that kind of person. And so I have to ask myself, how am I going to respond? Maybe I can't respond to those things that are going on because of Hurricane Helene. Maybe I don't have the time or the resources to do that. But how am I going to respond to the person who lives next door? How am I going to respond to the person who's on the side of the street? Like, at some point, I have to make a decision, and to not make a decision, to assume that I don't need to do anything, doesn't really feel faithful to me. It doesn't feel faithful for me to just say, yes, I notice, and then not try to do something about it, at least to help in some way. And so I guess I would invite all of us to stop and not just notice the devastation, not just notice the pain and the heartache, but to really stop and consider, how am I going to respond with compassion? How am I going to reveal the love of God in this circumstance or that circumstance or the next circumstance? I don't have as much control as I wish I did, but I can control how I respond. And we, as people of God, are invited to respond in certain and specific ways to the kind of suffering that we see in the world.